Hello dear crypto friends and welcome to this new video. I am sorry it's been a while, but not so much has happened in the market. It's been kind of boring, so we don't need too many new updates. But it's time again to look at the Bitcoin market, at the crypto market in general, and try to understand where the market is headed and why it's headed that way. It's always interesting to understand why certain things are happening, right? So let's start right away. As always, we start with our long-term Bitcoin chart, and today I have loaded the volume bars also, and I have loaded the weekly moving average, averaged over 290 weeks. Why exactly 290 weeks? Because the 290 week moving average is exactly that average where the price has perfectly hit in the COVID low of March 2020. So this is the lowest Bitcoin has ever been with regard to its long-term trend. So therefore, we can say that if something like this here should repeat, right? We can say that the lowest low would be given by the MA290, so which currently sits at 16,400. So we can extrapolate that moving average into the future, right? It will continue something like this probably, and depending on when Bitcoin will hit, or if Bitcoin will do a lower low, we don't know that, but if a bear scenario was to occur, we can say that this is the lowest possible low. So if it would now really instantly drop down, or almost instantly drop down, we would probably hit 17,000, right? If it would continue for a while, do some weird stuff, and then drop down in October or something like that, the low would be more like at 20,000 or a bit above 20,000. So it depends now what Bitcoin will be doing to estimate the lowest possible low, which is possible that Bitcoin can hit. We don't know yet if this will happen. There are different theories going around right now. And this will very much depend, of course, on the performance of stocks and of the dollar index, right? So there are now many people saying that, okay, the trend line here is holding, so why should Bitcoin crash in the first place? We could just continue a bit like this and then we go up and we have a nice rally until the end of the year. Why not? Then there are people who say, wow, the volume looks really weak. If you just look at the volume the last times, right? Every time we had a brutal shakeout and the volume bars were spiking. So in November 2018, we have a huge volume spike, and we have a spike in the top of June 2019. We have a spike during the COVID low. We have a spike here in January 21 at 42,000, and we have another volume spike in May 2021. And since then, the volume has been really low, really flat. And that means that there's a high probability that some kind of volume spike will occur. And that is the theory behind the shakeout, that basically now we will have such kind of a brutal shakeout. We go down to the MA290, depending on when we go down, $16, $17, $18, $19, $20,000, around that range. Then we rebound and then we go up. And then we have the next rally, which would then, of course, accordingly be a bit later than we think. So that would, of course, delay our whole next move up well into 2023. So this bear theory would be more in line with the thinking that this bull market is over now and we are now in a bear market, and that we have to wait basically until the next halving, right? Because the next halving, if we think about it, it's not so far away anymore. Yeah, we are kind of even more than midway to the next halving. If we look at next Bitcoin halving, it is okay, and 2024, that is clear, on 30th of March 2024, right? That is the time when the next Bitcoin halving occurs, and we know that the Bitcoin halving is a strong price driver for Bitcoin. So there are some price drivers for Bitcoin, and the halving is, of course, a big one, an important one. Well, the block reward is halved in two, so there's less new coins minted and less new coins are released onto the market, so the selling pressure accordingly decreases after a halving event. Now, there are other people who say that the halvings are less and less important and that we are now slowly shifting away from a halving dominated market to an investment dominated market where large institutions are basically creating the price, and we are not so much dominated anymore by the Bitcoin halving. We don't know yet which theory is the right one because we don't have enough data points. So we need to be a bit more patient, right? Now we know that besides the halving, there are other important price drivers. For one, this is the dollar index. And if we look at the dollar index, we can see that there's a strong anti-correlation between Bitcoin and the dollar index. We know that, right? And since the dollar has seen an insane rally in the last year, actually since December 2020, right? It had a low in December 2020. And ever since then, except for this pump and dump here, it has been pumping continuously since now, 1 year without any interruption. And every time this has happened, if we go back in history, so for example, the last time we saw such a massive pump was in 2014 to 2015. This was a 1 year pump. And in this time, Bitcoin saw a really brutal bear market where price decreased a lot. So the fact now that the dollar is pumping, this of course suppresses the Bitcoin price. And now if the dollar will continue pumping, which we don't know, so the last high was at 103, around 103, and it looks right now as if actually the dollar index will make new highs. So if that was to happen, if now the dollar index just continues pumping like a crazy bastard, I don't know, to 110, 111, 112, this of course would create a strong selling pressure for stocks and consequently also for Bitcoin, because we have seen multiple times that Bitcoin is positively correlated to the stock market, especially to the Nasdaq index, because apparently Bitcoin is being treated like a tech stock. Weird, but true. This is certainly not what Satoshi Nakamoto intended, but that's the sad reality of how things are right now and how Bitcoin is being treated. So if the dollar index would continue pumping, then consequently Bitcoin would continue to see selling pressure, and we might go down to that extreme low. That is, I call it the super bearish case of around 17,000, right? 17,000, then we wobble around and we prepare for the next rally. And the next rally is of course anticipated strongly because then we would be nearing 2024. And we said that already in March 2024, we have the next Bitcoin halving. But since the Bitcoin halving is now such a known event, many people already anticipate the effect of the Bitcoin halving. So they will already start buying earlier because they anticipate that, oh, wait, in March 2024, there will be the Bitcoin halving, which will make the price rise. So let's already start buying even earlier. So that means that the price will actually rise before the next Bitcoin halving because of the anticipation. So it is entirely possible that we see such a shakeout and that the whole rally will take longer than we anticipated. But how likely is that? How likely is that the dollar will continue pumping now above 103, 210, 11, 12, 13, which would indeed create a strong selling pressure onto Bitcoin, and we might indeed, worst case scenario, see a Bitcoin low, a fast wick candle down to 17,000 in a worst case scenario. How likely is that? Well, let's try to find that out. So this is our famous dollar index, and we have to understand the dollar index because this gives us the clue to understand what Bitcoin will be doing. But now if we look at the weekly picture, we see that the weekly RSI is nearing super insane overbought levels. Let us look at the long-term dollar index chart, really going back to the 60s, late 60s basically. We see that the weekly RSI never went above 85. So here, if I make this here bigger, we can see that the weekly RSI had its highest point in 1969 at 89, but that data point is really old, so I don't know how much it can be trusted. But it was the highest in recent history in 2015 at around 89, 88 point something. And you can see that we are nearing again such insanely overbought levels. We are now at 78. So we still have about 10 points to rise until we reach the highest possible weekly RSI the dollar index ever had in the last decades. So this is a strong point of resistance, and I don't think it can go a lot higher. Therefore, I would say that if the dollar index will continue pumping for a few more weeks, it will very soon reach this point here. Very soon reach this point at 88, 89, right? Goes higher here and gets rejected, and then we get a trend reversal. But until this happens, of course, the dollar index could still go on and rise more. But then Bitcoin will not have a rally. Best case we can hope for is that Bitcoin doesn't break down to the $17,000, $18,000 level, and that Bitcoin remains kind of stable in the 30,000s. So the best thing we can hope for in such a scenario where the dollar index pumps to above 110 is that Bitcoin will hold this level here, where the low was in June 2021 at 29,000. So that Bitcoin will hold this level, that we go down now, bounce around a bit down here, maybe see a double bottom, and then we continue the rally. However, we see that the dollar index sees some kind of rejection already. The weekly candle is being pushed back, as we can see. And since it has been rising so much, and also we have a bit of a bearish divergence, because if we look at the RSI, we can see that this spike here in March 2015, the RSI was at 88, right? And now we are higher than this peak. We are at 103 point. The top was at 103.936, and the RSI is lower, right? So we have like a higher price, but we have a lower RSI. So we could say that this is a super long-term bearish divergence here. And if that bearish divergence holds and this resistance level here does not get broken, then we will see a reversal very soon. And in that case, if we see a reversal already now, this means that Bitcoin will start unexpectedly pumping very soon. So in that case, if the dollar index will start dumping very soon, we would see something like this here, an unexpected rally towards the end of the year, where people are like, what's happening? Why do we suddenly get a rally? Well, because the dollar index has started dumping. So you see, it really depends on the dollar index, very much so. So we can just hope that the dollar index will get rejected. And there are some signs pointing to that it's super overbought on the weekly, and we have a long-term bearish divergence in the dollar index. And also we should keep in mind that there is a meeting. The Fed will meet again on the 3rd and 4th of March, so in just a few days' time. And people expect, or the market has priced in, a huge amount of interest rate hikes. I think 0.75%, so 75 basis points hike in this meeting. So if we are below that, if for example the Fed raises only by 0.5%, that is already much more dovish and less hawkish than the market has already priced in. So if that happens, if the interest rates don't get raised as aggressively as the market has already priced in, then this will be enough to see the dollar index dumping. Also, if we look at the long-term euro-dollar chart, that is an interesting one, the weekly, we see that we are nearing super insane support levels, which have held since 2015 here. So we have very strong support for the euro. Also, we have the announcement by the European Central Bank that they too will start raising interest rates. So many people who now went out of the euro because the euro is depreciating a lot, who now went out of the euro into the dollar, will start reconsidering and say, hey, the European Central Bank will also raise interest rates. The euro is getting more attractive now. So many people who have fled into the dollar will now sell the dollars for euros. So this would also consequently put more selling pressure onto the dollar. That is quite logical, right? Also, we shouldn't forget that we have some really nice divergences here in the euro. If we go back to the euro and we say, this here, this low in 2017 was at 1.03, and now we hit 1.05 or 1.048. So this is a bit higher. If we connect these 2 points here, we have a higher low, right? But if we look at the RSI, we can see that the RSI is making lower lows. And what is that, my friends? That's right, that's a hidden bullish divergence. So the Euro USD is making a hidden bullish divergence. Also, the European Central Bank will soon start raising the interest rates like the Fed. So many people who now fled into the safe dollar will come back from the dollar into the euro. The euro will start pumping, dollar will start dumping. So we have a higher likelihood, in my opinion, that the dollar index will start dumping soon. We have a higher likelihood, in my opinion, for that scenario as compared to a scenario where the dollar will start pumping to 110, 111, 113 and so on. So there is a very high likelihood that the dollar index will reverse and start dumping soon. And that would, of course, consequently lead to a huge Bitcoin rally until the end of the year. We would see this insane rally until the end of the year. So November, December, January 2023 at a highest possible price of 230, 240, 250,000, in that range somewhere. Also, we shouldn't forget that long-term Bitcoin is still in a very strong hidden bullish divergence, right? The price, as we can see, is making higher lows, whereas the RSI is also making lower lows. So this is a super strong hidden bullish divergence, and it's been in this hidden bullish divergence since August 2020, which is super insane. Also, even more, the RSI is actually printing a falling wedge structure. And as we know, a falling wedge structure is a bullish structure. So there's a very high likelihood that the RSI will break up to the upside, right? And what does an RSI that breaks to the upside mean? Well, it means that the price is increasing. So you see, it's a very complex interplay of the dollar index, bearish divergences in the dollar index, bullish divergences in the Euro USD, where we also have on top the announcement of the European Central Bank to start raising euro interest rates. And we have a super strong bullish divergence and bullish structure in the long-term Bitcoin price chart on the weekly time frame. So this means these three things put together, in my opinion, point towards a rally, point towards a Bitcoin rally towards the end of the year. But of course, these are just probabilities. So is a spike down possible where we just brutally break down to 17,000, recover, and then afterwards get a rally like this here? Is this possible? Yes, of course. Why shouldn't it be possible? It's Bitcoin after all. Crazy stuff can happen. So it is possible that we see a breakdown and retest of the weekly moving average 290. If I just draw it again, the one that has been tested in the COVID low, this can happen, but only if the dollar index pumps like crazy now. And as I said, I see the chance for that due to the aforementioned reasons as not too high. I think the dollar index will get rejected at this level where it's now. The dollar index will start dumping, euro will start pumping, and consequently the stock market, Nasdaq, Dow Jones will also start pumping. And of course, Bitcoin consequently will also start pumping. And then we see a massive rally from here, a beautiful rally towards the end of the year, which would also fit our calculation where we said, if you watch one of my previous videos, I will put the link in the description, where I calculated the most likely time based on the lengthening cycle theory, in what time frame Bitcoin will see the top, or most likely see the top. We calculated the 23rd of December this year, which is of course super precise date. So there's of course an error of a few weeks certainly. So it could be November, but it could also be January or February. But around that time frame, I still maintain my view that we will see the Bitcoin top, and it will come as a surprise to many, and it will be based on the dollar index, which will start dumping soon, and of course the chart technicals, which we saw here in the long-term Bitcoin weekly chart. And this of course means that the altcoin market, which we saw here, and which, like, this is the altcoin market excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are the two largest coins. So I just look at the total market cap of the smaller market cap coins. we see that this has been printing also a super insane hidden bullish divergence with lower lows in the RSI, higher lows in the price chart, right? So this is like quite bullish in my opinion. Everything in the crypto market is printing super strong hidden bullish divergences on the weekly time frame. This points, for me at least, also to a higher probability that the Bitcoin market will be pumping as compared to the scenario where Bitcoin will dump to 17,000. But this is crypto, my friends, so we should not exclude that possibility simply because we don't like it. It could still happen, but I place a probability of maximum 30% for such an extreme case taking place, and a higher likelihood, at least 70%, that we see a rally now towards the end of the year for Bitcoin and for the altcoin market. And the altcoin market, you know, it's always crazy. So we will see a market cap for altcoins of several $1 trillion. Many altcoins will go 10x, 20x, 50x, 100x. It will be an insane time and something we can look forward to. That is my opinion. If something would change, I will of course keep you updated. Please like and subscribe to this channel. I will try to make regular videos. And if the time comes and I'm getting bored by my other channel, by my main history channel, it could happen that I will start making daily videos with this crypto channel because I'm having a lot of fun with this channel. But right now, not a lot is happening in the market. It's kind of boring, so I don't really see the point in making daily updates. But should the action begin, you can rest assured that I will make a lot more videos. But for the time being, if it continues to be so boring, I think one video per week is kind of enough. But of course, I hope that this will change. I hope we will get a rally towards the end of the year, as many people of course are hoping for. And we saw that the likelihood for that is not too bad. That's it, friends. I hope you have a nice day. I wish you all the best and see you in the next video. Bye.